What is up, guys? Flippin' Steve back today with another video. And today I'm going to be talking about taking a loss on a card, which is something you don't see a lot of content creators talk about, but it exists. It happens. Not everyone is perfect. You win some, you lose some. Nobody goes undefeated. And I've always said, if your wins outweigh your losses, you'll be fine. And usually when I go into buying a card, I have a certain mindset that I put out there. I never like to buy at the peak. I never like to buy based on hype. I look at risk reward as opposed to what is the entry level or the price point of the card in comparison to what I may be able to get out of the card, even in an optimal situation. And I also like to look at end game. I like to buy a card and already kind of have a plan of when, how, and how much I want to get for the card or move the card at, all right? And in this example here, guys, I threw all my logic right out the window. I got caught up in the hype. I got caught up in risk. And I really had no plan for this card. And I'll get into the card and what exactly is the card. And I'm also going to get into the three things that have caused this card to basically tank, for lack of a better term. It's three things, almost like the perfect storm of things. And as a buyer, when I went into this, all three things were risky. All right. All three things were risky. Bad decision making on my part. So let's go ahead and talk about the cost of the card. This is a card that I spent $1,200 on. All right. I invested in a young prospect who was hyped up. I invested in a card that was sort of a base card / not a base card, but a card that was kind of getting, some popularity. But again, it wasn't a card that was super rare. That was my second mistake. And then I went with a grading company that was new, up and coming, and at the time, was getting some popularity and I thought had some value to it, all right? And over the course of a year, all three things to do with this card have gone, south, all right? And this is not just the market as a whole softening, all right? I understand the big picture of the market softening. Yes, it exists. However, this is three things besides that have caused this card to really take a hit. And like I said, this was a $1,200 card. I'm going to go ahead and show the card. It is a Zion Williamson Select Courtside HGA 9.5. And like I talked about the player was risky with it being Zion Williamson, being a guy who was at the time averaging 25 to 27 points per game when I bought this. So it was really when he was taking off as a player. His card prices were going up. So I was kind of, buying at the peak of Zion's performance. And I'm like thinking now, and I'm like, why? Hindsight being 2020. Again, the type of card being a base card. Now, yes, this is a select courtside, which is the rare of the three. Also had popularity. However, these days, anything that's not got some sort of parallel to it, even though this is a more rare card from the set, isn't necessarily looked upon as being rare. All right. So that's the number two thing. The number three thing is the grading company. Again, guys, it's HGA. And at the time, people could not get their cards graded with other companies, whether they were shut down, too expensive, whatever. HGA was gaining popularity. People loved the labels. They were basically the flavor of the week. Again, a phrase I don't normally use and don't like to use, but they were the flavor of the week. And since then, don't have a whole lot of credibility or never really got established the way they look like they had, possibly were going to be able to do. So I gambled on the player, I gambled on the type of card, I gambled on the grading company, and all three of them crashed and burned for me. No payoff on any one of those. So I'm looking at a card that I'm into for $1,200 and is now selling in a PSA 10 anywhere between $450 and $500, and in an SGC 10 or BGS 9.5 anywhere around $250 to $270. So right now, with this being an HGA 9.5, I got to put the value at about the price of probably a PSA 9. And that's going to put me right around the $150 mark. Maybe 200, who knows? And that's $1,000 loss, guys. It's $1,000 plus loss. And that happens. A lot of times it happens when you don't think about your purchase, when you rush into something and you kind of just ignore all your own things that you put in place for yourself, like I did, and just buy a card in hopes of 3 things actually making it work. And in this case, all 3 of them were strikes. Strike 1, strike 2, strike 3. I struck out on this card. Now, can I save some value? And now, you go into damage control. Can I save some value? Do I sell now and just take the big loss? At this point, cutting ties doesn't make sense. A lot of times when you start to see a card trickle down and you start to see it, start to lose 10%, 20%, you can go ahead and get out of that card at a minimal loss and get into something else that you think can help you recover. However, in this case, damage control, my options are to snap this card and hope that it sells high quality raw, or to send it to PSA at a discounted cost, maybe $50 or less if it comes down lower and I just wait, because I'm going to have to wait on Zion anyway. Maybe get it in if they ever lower down to $30, who knows. But get it in at the cheapest price point that I can get it into to PSA, again, to cut my cost and to increase, my recovery, and hope that it gets a 10. Hope that Zion comes back and plays and gets some hype, and hope that this card can cross to a PSA 10. Now, that does not mean I will recover my $1,200. This card selling in a PSA 10 now, $500. If I can pay $50 and get it crossed to a 10, I'm going to recover a couple $100. If he comes back and plays well and gets some hype, maybe that adds another $150 to $200 to the card. So I could be possibly looking at holding this, getting that grade, and recovering up to $700 to $750 of my $1,200 initial purchase. And that's going to be my plan. However, I don't see this being a $1,200 card. I will take the loss at $700 to $750. That's a possibility. And just learn from my mistakes. Lessons learned. Don't rush. Don't abandon your criteria and your thought process of when you're buying a card. And, a lot of times you'll minimize your mistakes by minimizing your risk. All right. And in this point, I did none of that. Learn from me. Don't make those mistakes. Your wins will outweigh your losses, and you will do well as long as you have a process for yourself and you don't abandon it. All right, guys. Hope you take something away from this video, even if it's just laughing at me for being a fool and making a bad play, bad investment, bad purchase, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, take that, guys. Think about it. And be safe when buying your cards. Be smart. And again, just avoid as many of the risk/gamble factors that can get involved. All right, guys, that's all I got for you. Until next time, have a nice day, and I'll see you guys later.